In the last video on my Terminator swapped 2004 Mercury Marauder, we finally got this thing 100%, well, 99% mechanically sorted, dyno tuned. And most importantly, it does insane burnouts. This thing is a ton of fun. It's an absolute ride on the street. We added over 200 wheel horsepower to what this thing would have come with from the factory, which is awesome considering we used basically all OEM parts. And this is how Ford or Mercury could have built this car. I'm psyched about it. But now it's time to turn back to the cosmetics, which leads us to the fact that the hood, the roof, the deck lid, and this passenger rear door all need a repaint. If you guys watched the paint correction start, or the start of the paint correction video a couple videos ago on this series, you know that this car sat outside for like 8 years next to a concrete plant. Some of these Marauders had paint issues to begin with, and the horizontal surfaces on this car just really took a beating. So we're going to be repainting these surfaces in this video, which means I need to do some prep. So I've got the car backed in. We're gonna start back here. Why don't you guys come on in and I'll show you where we're starting. So right off the bat, got some parts from QA1 that I just took out of the trunk. You guys might know where I'm headed with that. We'll get into that a little bit later. This video is gonna be kind of a mixed bag. A little bit of cosmetic prep, a little bit of mechanical stuff. Just knocking stuff off the list while we wait for our turn for paint work. So here we are in the massive Panther trunk that has space for at least 3 bodies, maybe 4 depending on how big they are. Plus a full-size spare, or, you know, okay, not a full-size spare, but good-size spare with a cover there. I don't know what this is, or if it goes with the car or not, but it was in here when I bought it. We'll look into that. Anyways, fairly clean. This is where all the parts were when I first got the car from Louisiana, so it's got some dirt and leaves and stuff in it. I've kind of been storing parts in here, the original fuel pump, these cheap China motor mounts that I should probably throw in the trash, the original battery tray. But where I want to focus is over here. When we were preparing this car for the dyno the first time, I wired in, or loosely wired in, a Kenny Bell booster pump in case we needed more fuel on the dyno. Well, at the dyno, the AEM 340 pump that we put in was plenty. So basically the way that this thing is wired in right now, it's not doing anything. Here's your trigger wire, basically, and I have these separated so that they don't touch. The way that this would work is it would be wired to a Hobbs switch, which would trigger the Kenny Bell booster pump to supply more voltage to the factory fuel pump or whatever aftermarket fuel pump you have. But because we don't have that wired in, this is doing nothing right now. So I'm going to pull this out, you know, resolder and refix basically the factory wiring so it's back the way that it was, and then we can clean all this up, vacuum the trunk out, get the trunk nice and clean, and you know, call the trunk done and good to go, and maybe sell that Kenny Bell booster pump and recoup some of our money. Also, while we're here, I need to take off this spoiler that I painted a couple episodes ago, because obviously that needs to come off if we're going to do a proper paint job on this. And then I think that this rear panel right here is going to come off as well, probably with the reverse lights and all that. We'll have to see what hardware is available. So that should be plenty to keep me busy for tonight and maybe tomorrow morning as well. So let's get to work. we got in here? Zappin' Roger. Okay. Don't even know what that is. Sade? Should I know who that is? Do I know any of their songs? Love in the Future. This thing is chock full. Curtis Mayfield. What one is this? It's not 808s, is it? Or Bounce to the Ounce. Yep. This has got to be 808s, right? I don't know. 808s and Heartbreaks is in there somewhere. It's got to be that one. But we got all 6 in here. This baby is loaded up. Got all 6 in the magazine, locked and loaded. Got my nose. Well, guess we're donating a 10 mil to this trunk lid. Just wasted 15 minutes trying to get it out. That's 15 minutes too much. All right, we are making some slow and painful progress. Good news is, you can't see it right now, but the trunk is all back together. It looks awesome in there. The Kenny Bell booster pump is out. All the panels are back in. Also got the rear fascia off. Spent 30 minutes getting my 10 mil socket out of there. Rear spoiler is off. So we are basically ready for paint. I guess I still got to remove this emblem. But this deck lid is ready for paint. Started working my way up onto the roof, and I was hoping that this rear window trim would be easy to remove. No, of course not. It's 20 years old. It's really just on there. Let me see if I can find a piece of it here. It grabs around the glass in that little U-channel right there, which would be fine in and of itself, but the butyl that's used to attach the rear window is, you know, it's butyl, it's a glue. So in some areas it peeled, like the whole bottom here, peeled off beautifully. I thought I was good to go. I thought I was gonna reuse the original Ford piece here. But on the edges here is where it got tricky. It is broken apart into a million pieces. And what I'm running into, especially up here, is it just does not want to release in this axis. So basically going into the butyl right there. It's stuck in the butyl. There's nowhere to get a tool in there. You can see I've already chipped off to some of the primer here. Not that it matters, because this whole panel is getting repainted. So I think what I've decided to do is I grabbed my windshield removal tool over there, which I used for my 69 Camaro back in the day to tint that windshield and also redo the trim around there. I think this window is going to be easy enough. I think I'm just going to rip the rest of this off as best I can. And then when this thing is back from paint, I will hopefully cut out the rest of the window here, remove this window, clean up whatever's left of this old gasket. And then as far as I know, I just checked online, this rear window seal is still available from Ford, and we can hopefully pop a new one in there and be good to go. So yeah, this whole situation here kind of stinks. You know what doesn't stink is this guy right here, and that's because I started using Mando. I always have a lot going on, and whether it's in the garage or at the gym or around the house, you're gonna work up a sweat once in a while. And you know, with sweat comes body odor, and nobody wants body odor. But ever since I started using Mando products, hasn't really been a problem. They have a full line, this is their starter pack right here, of sweat and body odor control products. And I say control because we're not masking it here. We're not using paraffins or dyes or aluminum or any of the stuff, all the chemicals you're gonna find in a lot of off-the-shelf stuff today. Mando has none of it. It's going to use natural products to attack and eliminate the bacteria that causes body odor. These two right here, my personal favorite. These are the deodorant wipes. I keep these, both of these in my gym bag. If you want a quick freshen up after a workout, don't have time to take a full shower, use the deodorant wipes, and then the whole body deodorant eliminates any smells. You're not gonna have an overpowering cologne smell or anything like that, but it eliminates the smell. Of course, you got the body wash. This stuff smells great. It's pH optimized to control body odor, and again, once you've rinsed it off, no overpowering smell. So check out the link in my description, check out all the products that Mando has to offer, and thanks to Mando for sponsoring this video. Now, let's get back on this Marauder. The reason I'm doing all this and not leaving it for the body shop is normally you guys have been on the channel for a little while. You know that I paint with my buddy Ben down in the South Shore there. He's busy for the next couple weeks and I really don't want to wait. So I hit up another one of my buddies who, you know, works alone. And I also don't have the time right now. So long story short, I'm just going to drop this car off, but he does body work and paint work on the side. So, you know, I wanted to make it as easy as possible for him to do a good job, which is why I was going to remove all the window trim so that he wouldn't end up either A, struggling, or B, you know, taping it, and then we have a tape line. Problem I'm running into now is I am almost positive the front windshield is going to be exactly the same case, and I really don't want to go through that same trouble. So now the question is, can we pull this back enough that we can tape this off and then hide the tape line, you know, somewhere in there? So I might send him a few pictures and see what he thinks. If we can make it look factory, not see any tape lines, you know, that's the goal. The sides here are easy. This stuff all pulls down easy. Also here, I got this trim piece off. So we got, you know, we can have the tape line in here and then this will be free over here. So it shouldn't be too bad, but man, what a pain that is. So I'm gonna keep going. We'll see about the windshield. Still need to probably fully disassemble this door, so I'll pull the car out a little bit more. Then we'll spin this thing around, probably get it on the lift, start getting into maybe some more mods, and see if we can figure out what that rattle is at startup, and whatever else is on my little mini list here. So let's keep her going. Did you guys hear that grind at startup this time? Yeah, me either. I think we got that licked. Talk about that in a second. It has been a couple days, but I've been kind of picking away on this thing as I had time here and there. Got the rear door basically ready for paint, stripped down. Started off getting the molding and stuff loose and off of here, which required me to remove the Marauder specific door panel. So I could get to the innards of the door. To get the door handle off, we had to hammer out a couple of rivets. So this is, we'll have to, I guess, rivet this thing back in, but this is now going to be 100% tape line free. This thing, on the inside, there was two 11mm bolts, so I could then pull this whole assembly and track part down, and then I had to drill out the rivets on the chrome surround here. There's one, I think it was 11mm bolt right here. So now this door, you know, the painter can then pull this stuff down easily. I've just got it back up for transport, but this can all be pulled down easily, and there'll be no tape lines or no visible tape lines when this thing is ready for paint. Got my pile of parts over here, which is expanding. Here's, you know, the corner molding here. You can see where those rivets were. I'm actually thinking about wrapping this trim black, you know, either when we put it back on or before we put it back on, but I think this thing absolutely murdered would look sweet. And as far as the starter grinding is concerned, I'm honestly kind of surprised this didn't happen the very first time I cranked this thing over. If you guys remember way back at the start of this project, the flex plate debacle that I went through, where the Marauder uses a very specific bolt pattern on the flex plate. It's like 10 5/8 or something like that, whereas everything else is like 11.5. So it was a nightmare trying to find an 8 bolt, which is required for the forged Cobra crankshaft, an 8 bolt flex plate that would meet that Marauder specific bolt pattern. I ended up finding, I think it was a PRW flex plate that was the right 8 bolt pattern, but I had to waller out the holes a little bit. And it ended up obviously working fine. But what always kind of bothered me was the fact that the original flex plate had like a different offset. There was like a little hump where the 6 bolts, you know, bolt to the crankshaft, and then another little hump right before the teeth on the flywheel. The PRW one didn't have that little hump by the bolt holes, which tells me that the offset was different, meaning the converter or the flex plate was going to be closer to the starter motor. But long story short, I think that this whole time the starter was probably needing to be shimmed. So that's what I did. I came down here and double checked everything. You can see I've got the inspection cover removed there. Oh yeah, there's the PRW flex plate. But I came down here and I checked everything. I made sure the torque converter bolts were still tight. Everything looks great, but it was still grinding. So I took the starter down and nothing was looking obvious. But like I said, and you guys saw and heard, it seemed like the starter was grinding upon disengagement. Or, you know, I don't know. So to test my theory, I shoved a washer in there. And that completely has alleviated and eliminated our issue, it would appear. Also had a little bit of an exhaust leak here. This V-band was loose, so I tightened that up. Tightened both of them up. That'll happen on a new exhaust system. There's a few heat cycles in. These things just need to be tightened, so I think that should take care of that. But anyways, it would appear that we need a starter shim, which, you know, I could probably use washers, but I remembered through all of the modular 4.6 parts that I've gathered over the past 18 months, I had this extra, you know, flywheel flex plate spacer thing. So I think I'm just gonna lop this off right here, and boom, this little piece right here will now be our starter spacer, and that should take care of our starter grinding. As to why it worked for the first few weeks of this thing running, first 100 miles, I don't know. Maybe the starter was pretty good, but now I wonder if that Bendix or whatever that thing is, the gear that shoots out to engage the flywheel, maybe that thing's getting lazy in coming back because the engagement has not been correct this whole time. I'm not sure, but it makes sense to me why this thing would need a shim to begin with, and if that has taken care of our issue for now, I think I'm good with that. So starter grinding issue solved. Paint prep basically done. But before we get to the goodies down here, and while we have a tiny bit of daylight left, and before it's 30 degrees, which it's supposed to be tomorrow morning, I'd like to try and get this cleaned up and power washed as ready for paint as possible. So I'm gonna pop this thing off the lift, back it out real quick, give it a quick power wash, and then we can talk about these goodies.
me shit now. That's just how it go.
Yep, you guys know the deal. We are putting some QA1 coilovers on the front of this car. If you remember a few videos ago, we actually removed the front strut assembly on this thing to lower it and then adjusted the rear air suspension. Cut the factory springs, which a lot of Marauder guys do, and it seems to work well. The car rides just as good as factory on the cut springs, and we got it a little bit lower. But a lot of you guys said this in the comments, and I knew it as soon as I got on the ground. I wanted to get it a little bit lower, but before I pulled the springs out and cut them a little more and potentially sacrificed ride quality or went too far and then we're really screwed, I was like, maybe I should check if my friends at QA1 make, you know, coilovers for this car. It's a slim chance, but you never know. Those guys make everything. What do you know? They make front coilovers for the Crown Vics, Grand Marquis, Marauders, the Panther platform. I didn't know about it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have wasted time. We would have done this from the beginning. So just got these in, cannot wait to get them on the car. The couple different spring options you can get, 450, 550, and 650. I went with 550. I'd like to keep this thing riding as nice as possible. It's like a couch on wheels right now, but maybe just a little bit of a bump in, you know, precision and handling, and just get a little bit more responsiveness out of the car. So I thought the 550 was a good middle of the road. Plus you guys know we got the double adjustable shocks from QA1, so we can really dial in this front end and the handling of our vehicle. Got the exact same ones on the C6 and the same ones on the Camaro and the same ones on the Lightning outside, wherever that is. They all ride very comfortably and also handle so well, and you can tune it in however you want. I've got most of them on a softer setting just because I'm mostly, you know, am street cruising, but you guys can really dial these things in for drag racing, autocross, street driving, whatever you want to do. So if you guys are looking to upgrade the handling on your Panther platform car or any of your vehicles, check out QA1. These are made right here in the USA in Minnesota. Customer service is second to none. The quality is second to none. These beautiful billet pieces. I've had zero issues with any of the QA1 stuff that I've installed. Absolutely thrilled to have these going on the old grandpa vehicle here. Maybe not so much a grandpa vehicle anymore. All right, let's pop these struts out again, get these babies in, and hopefully get this thing off to paint. You know it was a successful coilover installation when the car is now stuck on the lift. I bet this thing is, I mean, I left the coilovers basically as low as possible. So this is with zero suspension settling. We already have no gap. This thing is slammed. Like anything with a learning curve, I just did this a few weeks ago and the second side was even faster than the first, but coilovers on this thing, super easy. Probably 15 minutes for this side and 20 or 25 for that side, maybe less. Pop the old strut out, pop the coilover assembly in, which we already assembled, good to go. Problem now is we got to get this thing off to paint bright and early in the morning, load it up on the trailer, bring it down and drop it off for a few days. And I don't want to make it any harder on myself getting it on and off the trailer. So I think I'm going to raise this back up, bring those coilovers up a little bit, and then hopefully get this thing on the trailer. Then of course we can dial in the suspension, get the ride height where we want it, get the compression and rebound settings where we want them after. But right now, it's already late. I'm gonna have to be up super early to get this thing down, hopefully avoid some traffic, to get it to the guy who's painting or doing the paint work. Still haven't decided if I'm gonna load it up tonight or early tomorrow morning. Choices are now in the dark, in the pouring rain, or at 5 a.m. in the dark, in the freezing cold. So I'm gonna raise this up a little bit, then I'll hopefully see you guys tomorrow, dropping this thing off at paint. Also got a brand new OEM Ford rear window molding from Mike over at wallsfordparts.com. He's been hugely helpful with this build, sourcing all these difficult to find OEM Ford parts, and he's got the best pricing around. Up to 40% off retail pricing, plus if you use the code CHRIS25 at checkout, you're going to get 25% off shipping. If you guys are looking for Ford parts, be sure to check out wallsfordparts.com. Gonna drop this off with the paint guys and hopefully have their glass guy do the rear window while it's down for paint. Morning. It's a cold one out there. We're out of the tunnel. I lived in Massachusetts for the first 28 years of my life and didn't know until a couple of years ago, a little bit of tunnel trivia here for you, that the tunnels in Boston, if the tiles on the walls there are like brown, or there's like the brown stripe, that means you're underground like we just were. Or some of the other tunnels, if the stripe on the wall is blue, that means you're underwater. Who knew? Anyways, it is Tuesday, Veterans Day, so happy Veterans Day to everyone out there. Thank you to all of our veterans and active service duty members out there. You guys are the best. We all owe you, big time. That's important for right now because most people, myself included, have it off, so there was almost no traffic going in or out of Boston. I'm just getting out of the city now and made record time. You guys have been on the channel for any amount of time, you know that getting through the city is a constant problem that I have, which is actually why I don't really live around here anymore. Anyways, we finished up the coilovers last night. Those things look amazing. The car stance already looks so much better. Can't wait to dial in those coilovers, get the rebound and compression settings where we want, and man, the thing looks so good already. Just dropped it off with an old friend of mine for some paint work. We're gonna do the door that I sanded through, the deck lid, the roof, and I actually grabbed the original hood, which has been sitting on the back side of the garage forever. If you guys remember, I grabbed that hood off the Grand Marquis out of the junkyard thinking that it was going to be in better shape, but I did a little pass on it when we started the paint correction, and it's got little cracks in the clear coat. And I figure if we're repainting the hood anyways, I asked him, I said, is it any more work to just refinish the original hood here and fix those two bent up corners? And he said no. So we're gonna repaint that and have the original Marauder hood back on this thing with the VIN stamp on it. So that's 4 panels, and he should have it done in a few days, maybe. But until then, I'm gonna get to work on some other stuff, some other projects, maybe the E63 AMG. Got a little deck remodel going on the back side of the house. Got to do some of that, but you guys will hear from me in a few days. We'll pick this thing up. Thank you guys, as always, for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. Check out sullivan-co.com. Grab yourself a hoodie, a t-shirt, whatever you guys want to help support the channel. Working on getting some beanies going as well as these cold months come in, so keep an eye out for that. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Homeward bound.